The streets of Los Angeles were never kind to those who had little. The city was a beast. Its towering buildings cast long, cold shadows over those who struggled to survive. Among them was Jason, a 14-year-old boy with tired eyes that held a depth of sorrow beyond his years. His mother had fallen ill months ago, and with hospital bills mounting and food running scarce, Jason had taken to selling roses in front of the shopping mall. It wasn't much, but it was honest. All he needed was to make enough for one more meal, one more day. The air was crisp that evening, carrying the distant hum of car horns and murmured conversations. Jason stood near the mall entrance, a bundle of roses clutched in his small, trembling hands. Pedestrians bustled past him, their faces illuminated by the glow of neon signs and streetlights. No one spared him a glance. The city moved too fast, and people were too caught up in their own lives to notice a kid with flowers. "Roses, fresh roses," Jason called out, his voice barely above a whisper. No one stopped. Then a looming shadow fell over him. "Kid, you can't be here." Jason flinched. The voice was deep, gruff, unfriendly. He looked up and met the stern gaze of a security guard, a man built like a tank with a thick mustache and a name tag that read, Todd. "I just wanna—" Jason started. "I said beat it," Todd snapped, his voice void of sympathy. "No loitering." Jason swallowed hard, his throat tightening. He wasn't loitering, he was just trying to survive. But he had been through this before. The shame of rejection burned in his chest as he turned away, his grip on the flowers tightening. He wasn't going to cry. Not here, not now. Then another voice broke through the tension. It was calm, smooth, but carried an undeniable weight. "Hey, take it easy." The voice was instantly familiar, yet it took a moment for Jason to process what was happening. He turned his head and felt his breath hitch. Keanu Reeves stood before them, hands in the pockets of his dark coat, his deep-set eyes scanning the situation with quiet intensity. Todd straightened slightly. "Mall policy, sir. No loitering." Keanu's gaze shifted to Jason, then back to Todd. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a roll of bills. "How much for the whole lot?" he asked Jason. Jason blinked, caught off guard. $20? Keanu peeled off a $100 bill and handed it over. "Keep the change." Jason stared at the money, fingers tightening around it like it might vanish at any second. He looked up at Keanu, his lips parting, but no words came out. Keanu smiled slightly and picked up one of the roses. He turned to Todd, holding the flower between his fingers. "You ever needed help, man?" Todd hesitated. His posture stiffened for a moment, then eased as his eyes flickered with something, perhaps regret. He said nothing. Keanu nodded as if he understood. Then, with the same quiet grace, he turned and handed the rose to a passing woman. She accepted it with a stunned expression, whispering a soft thank you before continuing on her way. Jason watched, heart pounding. The moment stretched, expanding into something bigger than just a simple transaction. People had stopped to look. A few whispered among themselves. The cold indifference of the city had been interrupted, even if just for a moment. Keanu turned back to Jason. "Take care, kid." Jason's voice was still caught in his throat, but he nodded, clutching the bill like a lifeline. And just like that, Keanu walked away, disappearing into the busy street. But the warmth he left behind lingered, cutting through the coldness of the city. Proof that kindness still existed, even in a place that often seemed devoid of it.